Defense made a motion for a mistrial. Prosecutor was up to some fuckery. Potentially damaging evidence, no basis for it. The judge specifically said, do not ask that question. Do not use that as evidence. She walked right down the path and asked the question. It may be over on Tuesday morning. Batman Bruce Wayne bitch snitch. Gerald Brooks, your constitution does not apply to me because I'm a sovereign citizen, a traveler on the land, I'm the Moorish Empire or whatever, bitch snitch. Because they're so fucking absurd. If you want to be a sovereign citizen, just do yourself a favor first. Go to YouTube here and then just get every sovereign citizen that's ever been before. Find me one that won. God dang, you're right. Don't go down this. It's not the path. Don't have time for stupidity. Some clever dick on the internet didn't find the great loophole in all of the world's law. Bitch snitch. God dang, you're right. God dang, you're right. Traveler on the land. Moorish Empire, traveler on the land, bitch snitch, Moorish Empire, God dang, you're right, traveler on the land, bitch snitch, the late evening U.S. people, Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Whoever you are, whatever you're doing, whoever you're doing it with, I'm just glad you're doing it here with me, Legal Vices, on a retro trial Thursday, where we're getting ready to start a brand new retro trial, a trial from 2020 involving an incident that happened in 2015, where the accused, a Florida man by the name of Donald Hartung, has been accused by the prosecution of murdering his two half-brothers and his mother in a ritualistic witchcraft killing. And my mic was way hot. All right. So that's what we're going to be starting today with opening statements. Should be fun. I hope it's fun. I don't know what you guys think, but I have a like and subscribe poll up there where you can tell me what to think, because that's what we all should do. If you're just joining here, make sure you hit that like button. We've only got 87 likes, but 183 people here. 100 of you already haven't done your job. Get in there and smash that like button. Let's get us up to 183 likes. Boom, like that while I'm doing this. And if you haven't subscribed, if you're watching this on replay, wondering what the hell we're doing, this is just something we do every Thursday. We have a chill stream where I get to pay a little more attention to chat. We get to watch a trial that's already over and done with, and just kind of break it down and have a little interesting time with it. More of a chill, like it's just chill, relax stream. Gosh, that's kind of it. And once you do that, once you make sure you've hit that like button and you've subscribed, if you're watching it live, if you're watching on the replay, you're out of luck. You don't get to participate in the poll, but you can tell me in the comments what you would have chosen if you're so inclined. Today's like and subscribe poll is, what about the new trial? I don't know, just started. Probably good. At least it's not OJ, and I miss Marcia Clark already. And Flux has already chimed in and said she misses sweet Marcia. Right. Well, enough of that. JKD Buck has kicked us off with a little. Oh, we got Cindy Ackerman, who's a new member of the Clean and Sober crew. Thank you and welcome, Cindy Ackerman. I hope you're here. Love to have you here. Thank you so much for joining the Clean and Sober crew. And someone who's been a member of the Clean and Sober crew for 16 months. Been there, done that. What's up, homie? Jeff, thank you for your perspective. Your perspective and insight. Glad to be here. Well, I'm glad you're here too, and thank you so much for being an awesome supporter for 16 months. And we'll probably be seeing you in about 2 months, a little over about 2 months actually. I'll be hitting Utah 2 months from today. So there you go. JKD Buck 76. What's the over under on DA asking if he's a good witch or a bad witch, like in the Wizard of Oz? Yeah. Thanks. Oh, and Tracy Fagan, the first to drop some bucks today. Thank you so much for the super chat. Tracy Fagan, you had me at Witchcraft. Well, looks like they had him at Witchcraft too. No, we'll see what's going on. So far, I don't know the outcome of this trial. I'm sure somewhere between now and months down the road when we finish this, we'll find out what the end is. But there we go. Bella Stella. Oh my Lord. Wow. Damn. Bella Stella, thank you so much. Bella Stella just dropped 20 Legal Vices memberships. Bella Stella, you effing rock. If you were one of the 20 people, that's like 1 in 10 of you that are here watching this now. 1 in 10 of you just got a Legal Vices membership. Thank you so much. And again, as always, that just unlocked some stuff that I am in no way prepared to deal with. That has unlocked a shot. Okay. That unlocks the first tier of okay. Calm down. Calm down. Legal Vices, Jeff. It $100 equivalents, which is your 20 memberships is $100. So that or a $100 super chat triggers a congratulatory and a very, very thankful shot. Congratulations to me for getting it, and thank you very much. Bella Stella, you are truly a wonderful, wonderful human being. I appreciate the support for the channel. May you always, always be happy and live long and prosper. It's only Jim Beam, but I should have had something better. I just not used to anything like that happening on a retro trial day. I literally just cleaned off all the good whiskey from my table over here and put it back, and I left the emergency Jim Beam there. Thank you so much. Not only does it do that, oh, and by the way, if you're just joining on the replay and you're trying to figure out what's going on, as always, you want to skip ahead to about the 15-minute mark because we just catch up. We do a little bit of chit chat. We do a little bit of talking before we get going. Little fellowship and philosophizing. And that's what we're in the middle of doing here now. But also, sorry, I'm a little bit discombobulated by that. What that is also done, it being a $100 super chat, is it has right out of the box done what we like to call around here.
Release the hounds.
It's released the hounds. That hit our first tier goal. Our first tier goal of the 100 mark is to unleash the emotional support potato cams. The potato cam dog, the dog, you know what I mean. We unlocks the achievement. What is wrong with me today? Oh my God. Can we just shut this down and start over again? You have really wonked me out there, Bella Stella. I was so unprepared to deal with this. All right. At $100, we unlock the emotional support potato pig dog cam. That's what I meant to say. And so that's what we've done here. It's Yoda is the white dog and Strawberry is the brown dog. Two lovely, the brother and sister English bulldogs. They provide our emotional support during troubled and difficult times. So all right. Let me yell at them and have Strawberry stop doing that. Oh, Lord. Thank you so much, Bella Stella. The next achievement unlocked at the $200 mark is a congratulatory / punishment shot of a really bad Korean whiskey called Giwon. We haven't figured out what happens at the $300 mark yet, but $200, that unleashes a congratulatory punishment shot, if that makes any sense. And Adora the Wholesome. I'm an expert on witchcraft. I play a wizard on D&D. I cast magic missile. Boot to the head. All right. Thank you, everybody. We've got that out of our system. And of course, as soon as I do that, they all abandon ship here. Get over there. Stop. Go on. I'm sorry. You have to dance for your dinner tonight, monkey. Dance, monkey, dance. All right. All right. Let me zoom out the doggo cam here for a bit. Strawberry just, oh, come on. I don't know what's gotten into the dogs tonight, but we'll adjust it as time goes by here. Let me just kind of say, hey, get over there. See, I prepared a nice, lovely little blanket where you just lay under. Oh, Yoda, get off under the desk. There you go. All right, we'll work on this. They'll settle down here in a minute. They're just excited. All right, people. We don't get to see Yoda too much. He usually goes to sleep. Yeah, now pig dogs, English pig dogs, the bulldogs, they just don't listen at all ever. That's just in their nature. All right, good. Anyway, I guess that's really all we have to do. Thank you so much for everybody that showed so much support straight out of the gate. Damn. We'll just jump into this because I literally know nothing about it other than what I've just told you. An older guy allegedly killed his two younger half brothers and his mother in a alleged witchcraft ritualistic murder. I don't know what it means. I just know it happened in Florida, and we're going to find out all about it right now. So, shall we? Let's do this. Hi, dogs. Present the new screen for our new trial. We've got 287 people here and 166 likes. 120 of you still need to smack and slap that like button. All right, let's embiggen this and enlarge that, hide that, and should we do this? Yeah, let's do this, Cam. All right, folks, we are ready to begin the opening statements by the prosecution in the Donald Hartung murder trial. Let's see what this legendary trial is all about.
This time I'm going to read to you your preliminary instructions. You have been selected and sworn as the jury to try the case of State of Florida versus Donald Wayne Hartung. This is a criminal case. Donald Wayne Hartung is charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. The definition of the elements of these charges will be explained to you later. It is your solemn responsibility to determine if the state has proved its accusations beyond a reasonable doubt. Your verdict must be based solely on the evidence or lack of evidence in the law. It is the judge's responsibility to decide which laws apply to this case and to explain those laws to you. It is your responsibility.
Okay, so the court's going to explain the laws. Good.
To apply the law to those facts.
Because the court did not do that until the very, very, very end of the Hannah Gutierrez trial we just watched recently. So the judge here is going to tell us at the beginning what the elements of the crime are so that the jury knows what to look for when they're deciding whether this guy did it or not.
Before proceeding further, it will be helpful if you understand how a trial is conducted. At the beginning of the trial, the attorneys will have an opportunity, if they wish, to make an opening statement. The opening statement gives the attorneys a chance to tell you what evidence they believe will be presented during the trial. What the lawyers say is not evidence, and you're not to consider it as such.
That's a good thing to note.
Opening statements, witnesses will be called to testify under oath. They will be examined and cross-examined by the attorneys. Documents and other exhibits also may be produced as evidence. After the evidence has been presented, the attorneys will have the opportunity to make their final argument. Following the arguments by the attorneys, I will instruct you on the law applicable to this case. After the instructions are given, you will then retire to consider your verdict.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You should not form any definite
So I guess
opinion on the merits.
if I heard that correctly, he's not going to talk about the elements of the crime until
The
after.
argument of the lawyers
All right.
and the instructions on the law.
I don't know.
Until
We'll
that
see.
time, you should not discuss the case among yourselves. During the course of the trial, we will take breaks during which you will be permitted to separate and go about your personal affairs. During these breaks, you're not to discuss the case with anyone, nor permit anyone to say anything to you or in your presence about the case. If anyone attempts to say anything to you or in your presence about the case, tell that person to stop. If they fail to stop, leave at once and let court security know
talking.
advise me. The case must be tried by you only on the evidence presented during the trial in your presence, in the presence of the defendant, the attorneys, and the judge. Jurors must not conduct any investigation of their own. Until the trial is over, jurors must not have discussions of any sort with friends or family members about the case or the people and places involved. So do not let even the closest family member make comments to you or ask questions about the trial until it's completed. Of course, after that, you'll be free to have all the discussions you wish. In this age of electronic communication, I want to stress that just as you must not talk about this case face to face, you must not talk about this case by using an electronic device. You must not use phones, computers, or other electronic devices to communicate about the case. Do not send or accept any messages related to this case or your jury service. Do not discuss this case or ask for advice by any means at all, including posting information on an internet, website, chat room, or blog. In every criminal proceeding, a defendant has the absolute right to remain silent. At no time is it duty of a defendant to prove his innocence.
That looks likeOgrub in the back there over his shoulder.
Right to remain silent. A jury is not permitted to draw any inference of guilt, and the fact that a defendant did not take the witness stand must not influence your verdict in any manner whatsoever. The attorneys are trained in the rules of evidence and trial procedure. It is their duty to make all objections they feel are proper. When an objection is made, you should not speculate on the reason why it is made. Likewise, when an objection is upheld by me, you must not speculate on what might have occurred had the objection not been upheld, nor what a witness might have said had the witness been permitted to answer. You've been given notepads and pencils. If you would like to take notes during the trial, you may do so.
Good.
On the other hand, you are not required to take notes if you do not want to.
You'll be graded on your notes at the end of the trial.
Any notes that you take will be for your personal use. However,
Hey guys, how's the volume?
Take them with you from the
Can you
courtroom.
hear me well enough over the
During
trial, or am I like massively overbearing?
And return them to you when we reconvene. You will have your notes available in deliberation. After you've completed your deliberations, the deputy will deliver your notes to me. They will be destroyed. No one will ever read your notes. If you do take notes, do not get so involved in note-taking that you become distracted from the proceedings.
Yeah, that never happened to me in school. I never got so absorbed in note-taking that I didn't pay attention. I just didn't pay attention or take notes.
You should not be unduly influenced by the notes of other jurors. Notes are not entitled to any greater weight than each juror's memory of the evidence. All right,
that's interesting. He said that the notes don't get any extra weight above what they would give their own memory. Ordinarily, judges will say that if your notes and your memory conflict, you should go with your memory, not what's in your notes. That's interesting. All right, that's one little interesting note.
The attorneys will have an opportunity to make the opening statement. What the attorneys say is not evidence, and you're not to consider it as such, but please give them your attention. Ms. Jensen?
Thank you, Your Honor. Please report.
All right. That was quick. That was quick, short and to the point. That wasn't one of these 37, 38 page readings that they normally do. So now we're going to jump into the prosecutor's opening statements. DCV Titan with $2. I want my $2. I like the stream so much I hit it twice. No, that's not how the like button works. Don't do that. It doesn't give you like double it. And Tammy Fayette. What's up, Tammy? Just thought I'd say your name there, Tammy Fayette. I think there's a chance of cannibalism. There could be. As you know exactly as much about this trial as I do, or maybe you know more. We're going to find out if there's cannibalism or not. Let's move on. And Adara the Wholesome with the $2. The volume is perfect for me. What year is this trial? As you'll see down here on the scroll bar here, it's 2020. This is the retro trial Thursday, Florida v. Donald Hartung, the witchcraft ritual murder trial from 2020. These are the opening statements. Right there, across the bottom, the actual murder, as you're going to hear, I believe happened in 2015. All right, let's go. Thank you so much, peeps, for those super chats. We'll continue to read them as they come in, assuming they do. Who engages in the killing of individuals in ritualistic witchcraft ceremonies? Well, allegedly this guy. So we'll see if that happens. It's the blog swamp monster. What's up, guys? All right, let's go, prosecutor.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back.
Good morning, prosecutor.
Von Seal Smith, Richard Smith, and John Smith. Those are the three people that were killed in this case. And they are the mother and the two half-brothers of this defendant, Donald Hartung. The three of them, Von Seal, Richard, and John, all live together in their home on Deerfield Drive. And on Tuesday, July 28th of 2015, you will see that this family was brutally and violently murdered by this defendant. The evidence will show that Donald Hartung beat John in the head with a hammer and slit his throat.
I don't know. See, they say you shouldn't judge a book by the cover, but the cover of this book just happens to look a little Nosferatu-y. And he looks like someone who may commit a ritual witchcraft murder. Just saying, I'm not judging a book by the cover, but I'm judging the book by the cover, sort of. Yeah. Yikes. And Ike, what's up? Ike has been a member for 9 months. I see witchcraft, and just like cannibalism on Maritime Monday, I'm drawn to it like a moth to a flame.
The evidence will show.
Oh, I forgot. I do know one thing. When I was searching for the image for the thumbnail, I did learn, there's one thing I'd learned that I didn't share with you. The thing I learned is apparently at some point during this trial, one side or the other calls a Wiccan priest as a witness. So there's going to be a Wiccan high priest witness apparently at some point during this trial. So stay tuned for that.
That this defendant beat his mother in the head with a hammer.
Yikes.
And slit her throat. And the evidence will show that when Richard came home from work on that Tuesday, this defendant shot Richard in the side of the head and slit his throat, just as he did his mother and John. And the evidence will show, ladies and gentlemen, that he did it all for their money.
He works hard for the money, so you better treat him right.
Smith. His mother left everything to his two brothers, John and Richard. She specifically excluded him from her will. And what you will see during the course of this trial through evidence is that for him to get anything, they all.
Oh, is he going to be one of those defendants? She doesn't get through her opening statement. He's already going, lies. He's going to give her the evil eye. Let's see what happens here. We didn't get into the MST3K border on the bottom of the OJ trial until almost near the end, until well after a year. We might go MST3K here soon.
3 had to die. On Tuesday, July 28th of 2015, this defendant had the motive and this defendant had the opportunity.
Oh, not on camera. Oh, God.
So let's talk about the Smith family. The mother, Von Seal Smith, liked to go by the name Bonnie.
Yeah.
She was 78 years old at the time of her death, and she spent the vast majority of her time at home, sitting in her recliner in the living room, watching TV and ordering QVC.
Oh my God, it's my mother.
Her husband of 47 years.
We have the same
passed
mother.
Away in 2012. And so she lived at home with her two sons, Richard and John. Richard, who sometimes was referred to as RT. His middle name is Thomas, so Richard Thomas, RT. He was 49
Richard
years
Thomas
old
played John
at
Boy
the
on
time
the
of his
Waltons.
death. He worked as a computer specialist or an IT computer type person for the Department of Homeland Security. He had been doing that work with DHS for a number of years, with DHS and
He
other
does look a little bit
agencies.
like Ian Richardson.
Richard was not married and he had no children. And you will hear that he basically worked and then he went home and he took care of his mother and his brother, John. John was 47 years old at the time of his death. And you will hear that he functioned a little slower than most people from an issue at birth. John worked as a cart pusher for Walmart at the location on Mobile Highway.
That's what I'm going to do in my
retirement.
retirement.
Since the store was opened for over 20 years. John was not married, and he also had no children. You are going to hear from Deerfield Drive neighbors.
I love that you people can say in
Bonnie,
chat what
Richard,
I'm thinking,
John
and I can't say.
Were not very social. They pretty much stayed to themselves. You will hear from one neighbor that he never even saw Bonnie in the entire time that he lived next door for some years. John and Richard both worked 5 days a week, so they pretty much went to work and they came home. But basically, the point is that this family really just kind of kept to themselves. This is just an aerial of the Deerfield Drive.
Good Lord.
And what you will see is this is Klondike Road, and then here is the entrance to
Klondike
Deerfield Drive.
bar.
The neighborhood is rectangular. And basically, when you come off of Klondike, you can either go straight and then come around this bend, and the Smith home was right where this red arrow thing is. Or you could come in off of Klondike, take a left, go
Mouth
around,
breather. Are we sure he's
get to the
breathing?
Smith house. There was a neighbor. If you're facing the Smith residence, if you're facing it, if you look to your left, there was a neighbor on the left, and then there was a neighbor closer on the right.
Neighbors
This
to the
is just
left
a
of me,
picture to show you the
neighbors to
front of the
right.
Smith
Here I
residence.
am stuck in the middle with you. Uh-oh.
As I was saying,
Okay, what?
This-
Sorry. I was singing over the objection. I'm not sure what it was, but when the prosecutor starts with, as I was saying, that means that they lost. And could this courtroom look anything else other than a 1980s cookie cutter courtroom? This is the most 1980s courtroom I've ever seen.
this is just a picture of the front of the Smith residence on Deerfield Drive. This is a picture of the cars. This is a Toyota RAV4 that Bonnie typically drove. This is a white.
Isn't that the vehicle that Steve Avery allegedly that belonged to the woman that Stephen Avery allegedly killed, the RAV4? I think it was. Hashtag free Stephen Avery.
Toyota Highlander that Richard drove. John did not drive. So now let's talk about this defendant. This defendant, Donald Wayne Hartung, was 58 years old at the time of the murders.
That's awfully late to be
He did not
killing your
live
brothers.
with the Smith family at the family home. He lived by himself a few miles away in a small, modest, two-bedroom home that he had been renting for years. This is a photo of Mr. Hartung's home at the time. He also drove an older, I believe it's a 1989 Lincoln Town Car. The defendant worked as a security guard at Sacred Heart Hospital, making approximately $10 an hour. He was not married. He had been divorced for some time. He has a son who lives in Virginia, but at the time of these murders, they were not very close.
Mhm.
As a routine,
She does look like Sarah
this
Palin.
defendant went to the Smith home on Tuesdays and cooked dinner. The defendant was off on Tuesday, John was off on Tuesday, and Bonnie was always home. So this defendant would go there on Tuesdays and cook. Richard worked Monday through Friday. And so the defendant would leave Richard's food in the oven for
This
Richard
is
to eat whenever he
2020,
got
right
home
there
from
below
work
your name,
on
scrolling
Tuesdays.
across the bottom of the screen. 2020.
Also, as a routine, when this defendant went to the Smith family home on Tuesdays, he would take his dog. He had a boxer. And the Smiths had a large backyard with a chain link fence. So this defendant would bring his dog and let his dog run around the backyard. This back door right here is, you'll hear testimony that that's the door that the Smith family used when coming and going. So that's general information about the Smiths, general information about the defendant, and general information about his routine on Tuesdays. Specifically, on Tuesday, July 28th of 2015, this defendant went to the Smith home and cooked dinner. And that Tuesday, July 28th of 2015, is the last day the Smith family is known to be alive. And this defendant was the last person known to be with them.
Ooh, did they find them days later?
The defendant went over there that Tuesday. He cooked fried chicken, frozen corn, frozen green beans, French fries, and biscuits. Richard's was left in the oven.
That's a good last meal. I thought we were going to see a picture of the oven. That'd be cool.
And the evidence is going to show, ladies and gentlemen, that after they ate, John went into the den area, which is where he normally sat and watched TV. And while he was sitting on a love seat in the den, this defendant went into the den and beat John in the head with a hammer and slashed his throat.
Well, he killed all of them.
You are going to
The same
see
basic way. Hammers
blood,
and shock. Oh,
hair,
yikes.
spatter on some boxes and some things behind where John was sitting. And it just shows that that's where he was sitting at the time that he was murdered. And it was also the same place he was sitting when law enforcement found him. As this defendant's mother, Bonnie, sat in her recliner in the living room where she normally sat and watched TV and ordered QVC, this defendant beat his mother in the head with a hammer. He slit her throat. And the medical examiner, will tell you that Bonnie was hit in the head approximately 8 times. Excuse me. And then this defendant waited for Richard to get home. And what the evidence will show is that he cleaned up blood, he cleaned up food from the food that had been cooked, and he also took blankets and clothes, and he piled them on top of John's body in the den.
Okay.
He moved his mother's body from the recliner in the living room to John's room down the hallway. And then he covered his mother with clothing and blankets, just as he had done to John. He also took rugs. That you'll see these bloody kind of drag marks from the living room area down the hallway to John's room. There are blood that looks like it's been dragged. And he also took rugs and placed them over the top of these drag marks. And then he waited for an unsuspecting Richard to come home. When Richard came home from work that day, which the evidence will show was approximately 7 p.m., we know Richard left work about 6:36. But when Richard got home that day, he went into the den. And while he was in the den, this defendant shot Richard in the right ear.
Oof.
Now,
That'll leave a mark.
it did not end up being a very good shot.
Oh, my God.
You will hear from the medical examiner that it did not do any major damage to Richard, but it was
How do you get shot in the ear and have it not do significant damage? How delayed was Richard? I mean, good God. Now is when I wish I had one of the soundboard buttons, the surprise motherfucker button. That would have, damn. How do you get shot in the ear and have it not do any significant damage? That'll be interesting to hear.
was obviously strong enough and startling enough to stun somebody. Ultimately, this defendant slit Richard's throat, just as he had done to John and his mother. Richard's body came to rest on the floor in the den area, right in front of where John was seated on the love seat in the den. And then this defendant placed blankets,
I think it was the
clothing,
hate
and
seat.
items on top of Richard's body, just as he had done to John and his mother. You will hear from a neighbor next door to the Smith family, and he is going to tell you that he saw this defendant leave the Smith house that day
Good
around
reference there.
twilight. And he will describe for you what that means. You know, in the middle of summer, this was in July, it stays lighter late. And you will hear that sunset, not sundown, sunset on Tuesday, July 28th of 2015 was 7:46 p.m. It will be clear to you that this family was killed on that Tuesday, July 28th. John had a doctor's appointment the next day, Wednesday the 29th at 10:20 a.m. He never showed. Richard was scheduled to be off that Wednesday to take John to the appointment that John never showed for. But Richard also never responded to text messages. He has a friend and a coworker named Tammy Duncan, and she would text him on a regular basis, and she texted him that Wednesday, and he never responded. Richard also never showed up for work on Thursday or Friday. When Richard's body was found, you are going to see that he was in the exact same clothing that he was wearing on Tuesday, July 28th, when we know he left work.
Yowzer. So when
This
did
is a
they find
photograph
him? It's
of
been at least
Richard.
4 days already.
This is a photograph, a still shot of the video you will see showing him leave his place of employment on July 28th at approximately 6:36 p.m. It will be clear to you through the evidence in this case that this family was murdered that Tuesday while this defendant was there cooking their last meal.
He's courteous.
By Friday, July 31st, this is 3 days after the victims are last known to be alive, and this defendant is the last person known to be with them. Richard's supervisor was obviously concerned that Richard had not shown up for work. So Friday morning, Richard's supervisor drove out to the Smith family home. And when he got there, Richard's car was in the driveway. So he went and knocked on the doors, rang the doorbells, tried to get someone's attention. He noticed that there were some packages on the front porch. No one ever answered. He ended up calling the sheriff's office. Sheriff's office came out to do a welfare check. Deputies responded to the house. They walked around the area. They will tell you that there were no signs of forced entry. No broken windows, no kicked in doors, nothing to indicate that someone had broken in to this home. As a matter of fact, they ended up using a credit card to pick the back lock on the back door. Deputies end up going inside, and you are going to see pictures that crime scene personnel took once they arrived and went inside the home. And the deputies will tell you that when they first went inside the house,
you hear the crying of the lambs.
Nothing they
Clarice.
saw appeared obvious that 3 people had been murdered in this home. Now you are going to see that there were piles of stuff everywhere. Bonnie had a QVC addiction of sorts. There was stuff everywhere, clothes, trinkets, all kind of stuff. So when the deputies first went inside, it was difficult to really see that anything was kind of amiss. I think some people may describe this as kind of like a hoarding house type. Stuff everywhere is my point. But while deputies were in the den area, they kind of looked at the pile of stuff that was on the floor in the den, and they lifted up an edge of this pile, and they noticed that there was a white shoe.
Ay, ay, ay.
They also noticed that there was a pile of similar blankets and clothing, what have you, that was on the love seat. And then ultimately they realized that there was another body there. They then went down the hallway into the room on the right, which is we now know is John's room. And there was a similar pile, as the ones that were in the den, piled up pretty high. And when they lifted another part of that pile, they noticed a hand. And we now know that ended up being Bonnie. Crime scene personnel did a sketch in this case, and I'm going to show it to you just to kind of orient you, give you an idea of the layout of the Smith family home. So this front up here is going to be Deerfield Drive. This will be the front door. The cars were parked over here. This is in the driveway. And then if you come through this gate, this is going to be the back door. When I showed you that photo.
Okay, now's a good time to take just a quick little pause, because we've got 413 people here. We've never had 413 people here for a retro trial Thursday. So welcome everybody here. What we're doing is we're showing an older trial. This was from 2020, dealing with a triple murder that happened in 2015. The Nosferatu Dracula zombie looking defendant guy who I guess is presumed innocent unless he's eventually proven guilty. I don't know what the outcome of this trial is yet, but I'm sure someone will spoil it, but I hope not. Yeah, they've accused him of killing his half brothers and his mother in a witchcraft ritualistic murder. Not sure when we haven't tied him to the crime yet. There hasn't been any assertion as to why he did it or how he was involved, and certainly no witchcraftiness yet. But we are just in the opening statements by the prosecutor right now. So let's sit back, and we're going to do this. We're going to do this for a few hours every Thursday until we burn through the whole trial. So let's do that. So that's what's happening. If you guys are wondering if this is a new trial or an old trial, this is an old trial from 2020. And whenever I stream a trial, just look at the scrolling across the bottom of the screen, and that should tell you the basic information about the case. Let's get back here.
The backyard where it's fenced in. This is the door that the Smith family typically used. And when you go inside, you immediately are in a laundry room type area. There's a small half bath to the left. The kitchen is to the right. And straight ahead is this den area that we're.
Oh, I apologize. I forgot to read Tracy Fagan's $2 super chat from a while ago. Thank you so much, Tracy, for yet another super chat. Yes, because he's from Florida. Yes, he is a Florida zombie. He is a Florida Dracula Nosferatu. Oh, and as long as we're here, Reverend Salem Witch Trials. yeah, this guy's one of those guys who, yeah, he's probably witch burn him. He wouldn't get much of a trial back in Salem, I believe. And Legendary Racing, he shot my ear off with a great and wonderful High Plains Drifter reference there. Nice. You win 100 internet points for that.
That we're calling it. Richard's body was found laying on the floor. John's body was found on this love seat. When you go through the kitchen, you immediately go to this dining area, and then here's the family room. You will see this chair, which is the chair we believe that Bonnie typically sat in. There was a TV up against this wall. And then there's a formal dining room area and a formal living room area. Again, just kind of chock full of stuff. Here's the front door. And then down this hallway, the first bedroom on the left is going to be Richard's room. First doorway on the right is going to be John's room, which is where Bonnie was found. And then if you go down the hallway a little further, there's a bathroom, and then there's Bonnie's room, and she had an attached bathroom. You will see the drag marks that I was talking about earlier from this family room area to kind of go down the hallway leading to John's room, but they're covered up by rugs. So once the initial responding deputies find these bodies, and they don't uncover them, all they do is see the shoe, they see the hand, and they get out of there, okay? They, at that point, call homicide investigators, crime scene personnel. All those people start responding and doing their investigation. This defendant was interviewed the day that the bodies were found, about 2 hours afterward, and he denied doing anything to his family. He admitted being there on that Tuesday and cooking, and you'll see and hear his full interview. He was interviewed again about 12 hours later on August 1st, because by that time, investigators they knew a little bit more about what had happened. The bodies had been uncovered. The medical examiners had come. But again, this defendant denied doing anything to his family.
Well, perhaps he's innocent.
But what he did say was that he never saw Richard on that Tuesday, July 28th. Never saw Richard, and that he never touched anything of Richard's. And then the forensics started coming back in this case. Richard carried a fabric Swiss Army type case. And in it, he kept his checkbook, his bills, financial statements, things of that nature. It was found on the kitchen counter by the sink with Richard's blood. But what was also on it was this defendant's DNA.
Ew.
And his DNA was not only on the fabric case itself, but it was on Richard's checkbook inside the fabric case.
What kind of DNA?
There was also a trash can in the kitchen, and you'll see pictures of it. It appeared to be evidence of cleanup from the food and from the murders. There were miscellaneous things in there. There was a broken duck figurine.
I ate his liver with
there was
fava beans and a nice can.
2 of Bonnie's purses, her wallet. There was food. You'll see a number of things from this cleanup. But smack dab in the middle of these things that had been cleaned up was a cigarette butt that had this defendant's DNA on it.
And a pentagram.
There was a hammer found next to the sink in the kitchen.
With a pentagram on it.
Maybe washed or cleaned. It didn't have obvious amounts of blood on it. But it had this defendant's DNA as well as Bonnie, Richard, and John. But not only that, it tested positive in different areas
for
the
witchcraft
presence of blood.
Oh.
You will see that Richard's body looked like it had been moved. You will see in the photographs, once they're admitted into evidence, that there's some blood kind of pooling right here, also on the back of Richard. So it looks like possibly he had been on his back at some point, and you'll see that his foot is kind of contorted. Also, is his back,
looks like
is his belt, which looks like it has either been.
She's wearing one of the clampy clips, not a banana clip, it looks like.
That belt was sent to a lab for DNA testing. This defendant's DNA is on the inside of Richard's belt. Again, he told law enforcement that he had not seen Richard on the 28th and never touched anything. What's wrong with you people? Richard's. This defendant also told law enforcement that he left the Smith home that day.
You know that if he moves, that big black sheriff back there, and she's just going to ram a wooden stake right through his mother effing heart. She's not going to take any chances. DCV Titan says he's just coming down off the bath salts. Thank you. And Jared asks, Jeff, will Chandler be joining you for these again now that she's free from the Cali and settled in the Eastern time zone? She is studying aggressively for the law school test, the LSAT test. So no, and plus she's got her own stuff going on these days. She's left the nest. She's flying. She's being free. So yeah, she's got her life.
Around 5:30.
Good luck, Chandler, by the way, if you ever happen to see this.
And again, you will hear from the neighbor that will say it was later than that. It was somewhere closer to twilight. But what that neighbor is also going to tell you is that Richard came home while the defendant was still at the Smith home. The neighbor will tell you the sequence was this. Donald Hartung went to the Smith home that afternoon. Richard came home while the defendant was still there. And then a short time later, this defendant left, again around twilight.
Twilight, he's
Ladies
a vampire.
Ladies and gentlemen, not only will there be no question that these murders happened on July 28th, but there will be no question that this defendant is the person who murdered his family. And here is why. Last will and testament of Von Seal Smith. You will see a certified copy that will be moved into evidence. Regarding Von Seal's estate, I hereby give, devise, and bequeath to my husband, Richard A. Smith, provided he shall survive me. But if he does not survive me, then an equal share to my two sons, Richard Thomas Smith and John William Smith, to be theirs absolutely. I have intentionally made no provision herein for the benefit of my son, Donald Wayne Hartung Jr., not for lack of love or affection, but because he has sufficient assets of his own, and I have made ample provisions for him during my lifetime.
No, that means she hates his guts and doesn't want to give him anything. Not because I don't love him, but for this made-up reason, which actually just disguises the fact that he's a creepy mother effer and I don't want to give him anything because I really, really hate him. Yeah, to be deliberately written out of a will because you have your own means to take care of yourself.
Signed, Von Seal Smith. He was excluded. So to be included, all three of them had to die. Thank you so much for your time and your attention during the course of this trial.
That's not the way it happened at all. Wow, that was a very short opening statement. And there was 100% less witchcraft than I expected. I'm still curious now as to why they're calling this the witchcraft murder trial. I'm sure we'll find out. I hope we'll find out. Otherwise, I've done some serious false advertising. But wow, that was very short and to the point. Chat, you guys are so funny today. All right. Wow. The blue moon. Okay, apparently there was a blue moon, which is 2 full moons in the same month. So what he killed them on the blue moon, which would be the second full moon of the month. Huh. Well. Okay. Yeah, there's no witchcraft. I want my money back, Ms. Prosecutor. Well, like I said, when I was researching the image for the thumbnail, there was a Wiccan high priest guy on the stand. So apparently we're gonna have it at some point. Just not in the opening statement. Where's the witchcraft? Only talking about cooking so far. Hey, Hansel and Gretel, she was a witch and she was trying to cook the kid. So maybe. It's the that old Twilight episode, How to Serve Man. This guy just looks like a creepy mofo. This is one of these cases where I kind of hope he did it, because if he's innocent and he looks like this, he's going to be branded as guilty his entire life. This is one of those guys the neighbors aren't one of these. He was just the quietest man. We never saw this coming. this is like the guy where if he found guilty, the neighbors gonna be going, man, we saw this coming a mile away. What do you mean he only killed 3 people? Are you sure there's not a bunch more? Yeah, well, that's why we didn't go to his barbecues. Yeah, I want to hear him say something like that. No. All right, defense.
Ms. Jensen, Mr. Myers, members of the jury. As I told you earlier, I guess all last week, my name is Michael Griffith. I'm being assisted by Sharon Wilson and my legal assistant, Cheryl Young.
And I would gladly pay you Thursday for a hamburger today.
I heard Ms. Jensen's opening statement, and it was masterful, but it leaves
It was
out
not masterful.
many of the facts or the lack of facts that you are going to hear. First of all, what can we agree to? We can agree that Von Seal Smith,
Straight out of the Nutcracker
Richard
Suite.
Thomas Smith, and John Smith were horribly murdered. There is no question about that. And that is a tragedy.
All right, and as a watch wearer, as a watch enthusiast myself, the fact that he is somehow wearing his wristwatch on the side of his wrist is bugging the shit out of me right now. It shouldn't, and actually I think it's kind of genius so he can keep his hand there and just look down and see what time it is, but his watch sitting there on the side of his wrist is really bugging the shit out of me.
We can also agree that my client, Donald Hartung Sr., would go every Tuesday night to his mother's house and cook dinner for the 3.
Donald Hartung Sr., they said he didn't have kids, didn't they? I thought you said he didn't have kids. Yeah, could be wrong. Maybe misheard.
That lived there. That's Richard, John, and Von Seal. This went on for years and years. And he would also visit on occasion to watch football over there.
Okay, he had a son. All right.
Now,
I
you will hear
misheard.
testimony about DNA. You would expect, and the experts pertaining to DNA will tell you, that of course my client's DNA would be all over the house on Klondike simply because he visited there. I'm sorry, on Deerfield, because he visited there all the time. DNA is deposited by all of us through our skin cells, our hair, our perspiration.
Semen.
And for Mr. Hartung's DNA to be all over that house is nothing that is surprising to anyone. In Mr. Hartung's interview, he's asked about touching Richard's property.
What?
And he said, no, I
God.
didn't touch it. Does that mean he didn't move?
Dude, you can't pause after touching Richard's property. You can't do that. Because not only myself, but 422 people watching in chat are degenerates. And they're filling in the blanks.
Move it if it was in the kitchen.
Oh, Torin 3 with a $5 super chat coming in just under the wire. I bet the witchcraft is the defense claim. I didn't kill him. It was the coven over there. That'd be Torin, I hope that's the defense. That would be awesome. And Rosalind Duke talking about her watch. I wear mine on the inside. You're only a semi-monster. Semi-monsters wear their watches on the inside of the wrist. Complete monsters wear two wrists, 2 watches, 1 on each wrist. A 3/4 monster is the woman that wears her watch on the outside of her sweater. Anyway,
When he was cooking.
this isn't the watch wearer trial. This is the Nosferatu
Absolutely
witchcraft
not.
trial. Okay, dude is wearing a very, very expensive watch. They got to get closer. That's either about a $50,000 Breitling or about a $70,000 Rolex Daytona he's wearing. Dude's wearing a good watch.
He didn't go through it. He told the detectives that. You're also going to hear what contact DNA is. I suggest to you that you'll hear testimony that contact DNA means when I'm here and I'm touching this lectern, if someone were to put my legal assistant's purse on top of it, that my DNA could be on her purse, not because I touched her purse, but because she put it on top of my DNA. That is what's called contact DNA. There are numerous instances such as that we will put on as evidence, either through the cross-examination of the state's evidence, or if we choose to put on a defense through our experts to educate you and give you a better understanding of what it is that you're dealing with. Now, as far as the will is concerned.
Yes. And see, this is the thing. This is what I was thinking when I hope this is what he says. If you're written out of a will, do you kill someone because they wrote you out of the will? I mean, then that means it's over and done with. A, you're out of the will, and two, you murdered them. So even if you are in the will, you can't get it. Wouldn't you try to convince them to get you back into the will? I don't know. Just thinking about this. Let's see if that's what he brings up.
What the will says that Donald Hartung Jr. is excluded. My client is Donald Hartung Sr. Is that an error in drafting the will? Or was it meant to exclude Mr. Hartung's son, Donald Hartung Jr.?
That's actually interesting. Well, that's actually an interesting issue to bring up. Junior was, wow, okay, clever. All right.
We don't know. But there's one thing that the state cannot tell you or prove to you is that my client ever saw that will. There's no evidence that my client ever read that will, saw that will, or in any way had knowledge of the contents of the will. Additionally, you won't hear any evidence from anyone that says that my client knew or didn't know whether or not Richard Thomas Smith had a will. The state is, I suggest to you, basing their theory that they're trying to put forward that my client knew the contents of the will and that was his motivation to kill his family. No evidence. I suggest to you that you will hear, and this is what you need to listen to. Listen to not only what the state puts on, but use your minds to rationally think about whether there's a lack of evidence or whether there's a conflict in the evidence. I'll suggest no one will tell you whether or not my client knew if Richard had a will or not. And if he were the last to die, then whoever he left his money to is where it would go. It wouldn't necessarily go to Donald Hartung Sr. But this is a supposition that the state has made. I suggest to you that you're also going to hear that none of the investigators had any suspect beside my client. They didn't bother looking at anyone else. They did a quick fix, if you would, zeroed in on my client, whose DNA was at the house, absolutely, and decided he must be the murderer. The hammer that Ms. Jensen told you about, you'll have to listen to the DNA results to see if my client's DNA was even on that hammer. Certainly John's, Richard's, and Von Seal's were on the hammer. There is not going to be, at the conclusion of this case, anyone who is going to stand up and say, I did it, I'm the person that committed the murders. It's not Perry Mason. You're not going to hear that. I suggest to you at the conclusion of the case, there is no answer to who the murderer is. I also suggest to you that when you listen to the evidence, you will have a great deal of doubt as to who committed these murders. We know they were committed. We know it's a tragedy. We also are going to suggest that through the evidence, you're going to see that no one was investigated besides my client, and that a great deal of the reason my client was arrested was because of his DNA, which you would expect to find all over the house. You're going to see that he readily answered all the questions of law enforcement, didn't refuse to answer their questions. They questioned him shortly after he learned his family had been murdered. They came back later that night, again, questioned him, searched his house. There is no indication of any physical evidence that he committed any of the murders. There was no gun found. There was no gunshot residue found on any of his clothing. There was no blood found at his house. There was no blood found in his car. There was nothing to link him in any way to these murders besides his DNA at his mom's house, where he went at least every Tuesday to cook dinner for her and his two half-brothers. You're not going to hear any testimony, I suggest, that in any way says that he didn't like his family, that he was mad at his mother, that he was mad at his brothers. There is nothing. These murders, when you see the photographs of the crime scene, they were done in a rage, an angry rage. You are not going to hear any testimony from any witness that's going to say my client had an explosive temper, ever yelled, screamed at his mother or his brothers, or in any way fought with them. In fact, he dearly loved his family. I suggest you at the conclusion of the case, after you hear the state's evidence, which obviously is slanted towards convicting my client. There's no question about that. That's what the state wants to do, is convict my client. And that's the way they're going to present their evidence, through cross-examination. And if Mr. Hartung and his attorneys choose to put on evidence, you're going to hear something totally different, that there's no way that we know who committed these murders. There's no way beyond a reasonable doubt that you could find that Mr. Hartung is guilty of these murders. Thank you.
Sorry, I was yelling at the dog. I hope y'all had fun. Did y'all have fun watching me talk to you guys? I was saying, I think that's the watch he's wearing. That Rolex Daytona that's valued at $57,000. I think that's the watch he's wearing. Now we're gonna get back into the trial here. We're done with the opening statements, and then we'll go straight into the witness testimony, I presume, unless there's something else coming. But anyway, it's fine. We don't need to hear you. I know, Cody. Nobody needs to or wants to hear me, actually. But there we go. That's all I was saying, is I think that's the watch he's wearing. So yeah, responsible.
All right, I've got a stipulation to read to the jury. Members of the jury, when parties agree that certain facts are true, that is called a stipulation of fact. You must accept the stipulated facts as having been proven. However, the significance of these facts, as with all
this
facts,
trial brought to you by Gatorade.
In this case, the stipulated facts that you must accept as true are: the deceased persons located on July 31st, 2015 at 4605 Deerfield Drive are the same persons that Dr. Andrea Minyard performed autopsies on August 1st, 2015. Second, the bodies located on July 31st, 2015 and autopsied on August 1st, 2015 are that of Von Seal Smith, John Smith, and Richard Smith. 3, identification of the deceased in count 1 is Von Seal Smith. Count 2 is John Smith. Count 3 is Richard Smith.
All right. So let's bring that back. And the dogs have gone somewhere. We'll bring the dogs when next they come back. What we need to do now is go into the next the next witness, the first witness. Let's see. Go back in time. Take the screen back. Right. Here we go. The first witness is on the stand. Present screen. Go up. Embiggen. And go. As soon as I unmute him. Damn it. All right. Embiggen. Unmute. Go backwards. There we go. Unmute. Damn it. Unmute.
I'm a special agent with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
How long have you been with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Almost 2 years.
And where were you before FDLE?
I worked with the Escambia County Sheriff's Office for 5 years.
How long have you been in law enforcement total?
Almost 7 years.
So let me take you back to July of 2015.
I don't know why I put
It's
that
been a
one up there.
while.
Damn it. I
Were
hate
you
this thing.
dispatched for a welfare check?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
What is a welfare check?
A welfare check is typically when someone calls the sheriff's office and says, they're concerned about someone's safety. Typically, maybe they haven't talked to that person in a certain period of time, and they just want the sheriff's office to check and see if that person's okay.
Okay. And where were you dispatched specifically?
It was 4605 Deerfield Drive.
And for the record, what was the date that you were dispatched?
It was Friday, July 31st, 2015.
Okay. And approximately what time?
I think I was dispatched around 0940, and then I arrived about 0953.
Okay. So is 09:53, 9:53 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And was this a house or a business?
It was a house.
When you first got there, was anyone else there?
Yes, ma'am. There was an individual named Hal McCord.
Were you the first deputy to arrive, or was anyone else there?
I believe I was the first one there.
Okay,
Correct.
very good. Now, did you, don't say what he told you, but did you speak with Mr. McCord?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. And did he provide you with a family member's name?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Who was that?
That was Donald Hartung.
Okay. And then were you able to look up, contact information for Mr. Hartung?
Yes, I used my in-car computer, and I was able to find an address for him.
Okay. And the in-car computer, does that have like driver's license information, things of that nature?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you say you were able to get an address?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
All right. And what was the address?
It was 6730 Klondike Road.
Okay. And did you drive to Mr. Hartung's house?
Yes, ma'am, I did. It was approximately maybe 3 miles away, so I drove over there.
And did you knock on Mr. Hartung's door?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did he answer?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Okay. And do you see Mr. Hartung in the courtroom today?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. And I know there's a lot of people at that table. So if you could just point to him and identify what he's wearing.
He's an individual sitting in the middle, the darker suit and glasses.
The one that looks like Nosferatu.
Thank you, Judge. Now, did you tell Mr. Hartung why you were at his house?
Yes, ma'am. I just basically explained that Richard's supervisor had contacted us and hadn't heard from him in a few days, and he was concerned about his family. So I basically asked Mr. Hartung, when was the last time you spoke with your family or seen them?
Okay. And what did Mr. Hartung tell you?
He said that basically every Tuesday he goes over to his family's house and cooks them dinner.
Okay.
And so he was there Tuesday of that week from like 1 p.m. to about 5:30.
Did you ask him if he had seen his family since that Tuesday?
I did. He said that was the last time he had seen them.
All right. And did he tell you if Richard was there?
He told me that Richard was not there. He said he hadn't seen Richard in about 2 weeks. And he said Richard's normally not there because he works late. So he comes home late.
Now, what was Mr. Hartung's demeanor as you were talking to him about his family?
He was very just calm, relaxed.
Yes. Phantasm. Great show.
Did you go back to Deerfield Drive?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And did you ask Mr. Hartung to follow you?
Yes, ma'am. I asked if he would follow me in his vehicle.
And did he?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
Okay. Now, when you got back to Deerfield Drive, did you ask Mr. Hartung for permission to go in the house?
I did. Based on the circumstances, I asked Mr. Hartung if he would be willing to write a written statement that basically said, hey, I'm concerned for my family. I'll give permission to the sheriff's office to enter the residence to check to see if everyone was okay.
Okay. I mean, did you basically tell him what to write?
I gave him that phrasing, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And what was his
Now, did
response?
Mr. Hartung have a key?
No, ma'am, I don't think he did because we did call EMS and fire out to basically to open the door if there was a deadbolt or something like that engaged. We didn't want to break down the door.
Okay. Now, you just said that other EMS and who responded?
Fire.
Okay. And was entry made into the Smith home?
Yes, ma'am.
How?
So actually, when I think it was EMS, whenever they got there, we checked the back door and the deadbolt was not engaged. So they just used a car to basically jimmy the door and pop it open.
Do you know why you were using the back door?
I don't remember. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
That's fair. All right. So the back door's jimmied. You go inside the back door of the house and tell the jury, I mean, what are you walking into? What do you first see?
So as we walk in the back door, I immediately smelled a very foul odor, similar to a dead body.
Not similar to. You
It
smelled
was
dead body.
Me, Sergeant Neesmith, and Deputy Singleton. We walked in. We ended up going towards the right of the residence, which was through like the living room and the kitchen and down the hallway. I know I saw a small white dog, and there was like dog feces on the ground.
Feces
went
on the
down the
ground.
hallway,
Feces on the ground.
we still
Looking
weren't
like
sure
a
if there was
fool
maybe
with your feces on the ground.
someone actually in the residence. So we were obviously calling out, saying, "Hey, sheriff's office, come out, whatever." As we went down the hallway, we smelled an overwhelming smell of a dead body, but we wanted to go back and check the other side of the residence first, just to make sure there wasn't anyone over there.
And let me ask you this. I should ask you first. When you first go in this home, what is your primary objective?
Well, at first, we're just trying to see if anyone's there and maybe injured or something like that. So we're really not
Someone
sure.
was
at that
very,
point. Obviously,
very
once
injured.
I walked in, I had that smell. And so I was kind of assuming basically that there was going to be someone probably dead inside the residence, but we didn't know if there was still someone else there. That was a lot.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. So you go from the hallway where you smell the overwhelming smell and you go back toward where?
It was back to the other side of the house. So back through like the living room and the kitchen, back to where we initially made entrance. And to the left, there was a laundry room with a door that was closed.
Buddha Berries, I hate you for mentioning the tooth. Now I'm just watching a tooth testify. Thank you very much.
So we ended up deciding to go through that closed door. As I opened the door, I immediately saw blood spatter on some cardboard boxes that were sitting up on a bed. And then on the floor directly in front of me, there was like a large mass of like clothing and blankets. So due to the blood spatter, I put on some gloves and then I started to peel back the clothing and the blankets. And as I started to peel it back, I saw a large shoe. It looked to be on like a white man's body. I touched the ankle. It was cold.
Then I touched it again.
Then there was another large mass to my right. It was like on like a love seat. So I did the same. I started peeling the clothing back and the blankets. And then I saw it was a bare white foot. It also appeared to be a male. I touched it. It was cold and there was a lividity present.
Then I
let me
licked
stop you
it.
real quick. You say you're peeling
And I
the
scraped it with
layers
my
back.
tooth.
Is it like the entire mound or is it just a small area?
Just a small area. Like I would just peel it back just a little bit just to get to whatever was basically hiding or hidden underneath the blanket. So I wasn't peeling them all the way off. I probably peeled them maybe a couple inches back.
Okay. And this area, or describe the room that they were in. I mean, how would you describe it?
I guess it was kind of like a bedroom. Like there was a bed in there. But obviously with all the clothing and everything, it was kind of, I guess, chaotic or whatnot. But there was a love seat and there was a bed in there. So it appeared someone would probably sleep in there.
Okay. And before you went into that room, was the door open or closed?
It was closed.
Excuse me. Did you pronounce those two individuals you just
Tooth is
described
on
as
fire.
I
deceased?
did. We obviously didn't know who they were, but I pronounced them at approximately 11:14
AM?
a.m. Yes, ma'am.
And then where did you go from that room?
Due to the previous smell that we had encountered in the hallway, we went back to the other end of the residence, went down the hallway. There was another bedroom door that was closed. So we opened up that door, and there was a huge mound of clothing and blankets on the floor of that bedroom. I did the same thing. I started just slowly peeling back a little bit. I saw it appeared to be like an elderly female's hand. It was a white female. Touched it. It was cold. There was some lividity in the fingers. And so I pronounced her at approximately 11:17 a.m. Sorry.
That's okay. No, you said that you put gloves on before you touched these individuals.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
So at that point, you found 3 bodies, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what do you and the other 2 law enforcement officers do at that point?
Tracy, he
We
can
back out of the
pronounce.
residence. My supervisor, I believe, had already
No.
contacted
I don't think a
investigations and crime
police
scene.
officer
So
can
they were
pronounce
already on the
someone
way,
dead.
and we just backed out of the residence and waited for them to arrive.
I mean, I think you can say he's
And then do you
dead,
make sure that no one else enters the residence?
but I don't
Correct.
think
Yes,
you
ma'am.
felt the medical examinators.
Where was, do you know where this defendant, Donald Hartung, was at that point when you
I
back
bel-
out?
I believe he was standing in the driveway while we were inside the house.
And for the record, is 4605 Deerfield Drive located within Escambia County, Florida?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Did homicide investigators respond?
Yes, ma'am.
Crime scene personnel?
Yes, ma'am.
Kind of chaos going on out there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Did you keep a crime scene log while you were there on July 31st, 2015?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, and what is a crime scene log?
A crime scene log basically just is a list of names to determine the people who actually entered the scene.
Okay, and what's the purpose of keeping that list?
I mean, basically it's to make sure we know who's been to the scene. And if there is possible like contamination or something like that, we would know basically like a footprint or something like that.
In other words, like if your boot was found somewhere on the
Exactly.
property, you could say, hey, I was there. Okay.
Correct.
And do you remember who entered the crime scene on July 31st?
It was myself, Sergeant Neesmith, Deputy Singleton, Crime Scene Tech Eliopoulos, Crime Scene Tech Rollins. Can I check my report?
Sure. If it helps refresh your memory, just don't read from it.
Yeah, just read it to yourself and then repeat what you just
Deputy
read from memory.
Infinger, Lieutenant Gilmore, Sergeant Coxwell, Deputy Tatum, Deputy Hendershot, Deputy Wirt, Sergeant Bjornson, and Deputy Jackson.
How long were you there that day, to the best of your memory?
I was there approximately 3 hours.
Nice one. That's a good one.
Those are my questions. Thank you, sir.
Just
Please, the court.
Prepare for a withering cross-examination.
Agent Smith, just a few things I want to go over with you.
Sir, no problem.
Now, you drove to my client's home, is that correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
And when you drove to his home, was he cooperative with you?
Yes, sir, he was.
Did he answer your questions?
Yes, sir, he did.
And did he answer them truthfully, as best you could tell?
Based on the information I had.
And you asked him
That
to
kinda
follow you back to
speculation.
his mother's home. Is that
Yes, sir,
correct?
that's correct.
Did he transform into a bat and
And-
fly away?
When you went into the house, you asked him to wait outside, did you not?
Yes, sir, I did.
And that's standard procedure to ask the relatives to stay out of the house when you and other deputies enter a home.
Sure,
He
because we don't
drives
know
up
what we're
at
going
night
to
in
encounter.
in a dark black carriage.
And it was Sergeant Neesmith and you, and was it Deputy Singleton, did you say?
It was Sergeant Neesmith and Deputy Singleton, correct?
And the three of you entered the house together.
Yes, sir, we did.
And did you split up or did you all stay together?
We stayed together, sir.
And you, when you came out, are you the person that informed my client that his family had been murdered?
I believe that was, obviously we all walked out to Mr. Hartung. It was probably me and Deputy Singleton that first approached him.
And in the report, it said that he was upset and you put him in a patrol car. Is that correct?
That's correct. He wasn't crying or necessarily emotional, but people respond to things differently. Obviously, being told that 3 of your family members were dead, I didn't know if he was maybe just kind of in shock or something. He wasn't responding that well. So I just had him sit down in the car.
That was different than he was when you came up to his house, because he responded to you when you came to his house.
I mean, he was responsive and he would answer questions and stuff. I would say it was kind of similar. He was very calm, but I just didn't know, people respond to emotional things differently.
Did he ever tell you that he didn't want you to search his family's home?
No, he did not.
In fact, he absolutely gave you permission. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I basically said, would you write a written statement? And he complied.
The more I look at this, the more I realize that if he had a beard, he would look like the pipe I'm smoking right now. I think he would look like the pipe that I'm smoking right now. Let's see if we can do this here. How are we going to do this? Can we do this? Yeah. If he had a beard, he would look like the pipe I'm smoking. Anyway, back to the trial. That was just something I just noticed.
And he could have said, no, I don't want to do that, right?
He could have.
And he didn't.
That's correct. He did not.
You indicated that you kept a log for the first 3 hours you were there. Is that correct?
Yes, the crime scene log was while I was there on scene.
And once you left, what did you do with your crime scene log?
It would have been passed over to someone.
Now, I swear we have seen this guy here in the back. Bubba back here in the back. I swear we've seen him in other Florida cases. Dude looks so familiar to me. We have to have seen this guy in some other Florida cases. It's been bugging me for about 10 minutes now.
On there, probably a crime scene tech.
Who did you give it to?
I do not remember, sir.
Well, let me ask you this. You've got a list of the folks that you said came in to the crime scene while you were there.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Which crime scene tech is on there that you might?
He said which crime scene, and I got my hopes up. Damn it. My heart went, he's like, which crime scene were you? See, this guy's got to learn how to finish sentences. He did that before with, and then did he touch your property? And I was like, the which crime scene? And then he finished the sentence. My heart literally, my heart got all Twitter pated. I was like, oh my God, here comes the witchcraft. And then he's, no, damn it. That was a big letdown. Sorry. Hey, Joe asks, is that a corncob pipe? No, this is not a corncob pipe. This is called a meerschaum pipe. It's made from what is essentially sea foam that gets hardened into a rock. And it's carved. It's mostly from Turkey, and it's carved out into pipes. Meerschaum pipes are awesome. They're amazing. And Rodin Varheit says, "Is there actual stuff that points to creepy stuff, or is it she dressed like a witch, and she does have a wart? She turned me into a newt." It's kind of that. It seems to be that at this point. Yeah, I'm waiting for the witchcraft stuff. I'm waiting for it. We'll just have to see. But all right, captions. Oh, we have captions. Hey, we have captions. They didn't have captions for OJ, so I didn't even look this time. Well, let's turn the captions on. Not that I need them, but some of you may, because hey, and let's back this up so we can hear him almost talk about witches. All right, here we go.
That you said came in to the crime scene while you were there.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
If there were, which crime scene tech is on there that you might?
I thought he was going to talk about witches.
The only
right
crime
there.
scene texts that I have on here are Rollins and Heliopolis. It could, I mean,
All right, white opaque file, font sizes, 100% background. Right.
a crime scene log could be
Why
kept by
isn't it
anyone. I
English.
don't remember. That would just be my
There we go.
assumption.
Can
So
we
you
move
don't
them?
have any idea
Nope.
who you gave it to.
No, sir, I don't.
And after you left, you have no idea who went in and went out of the house. Is that correct?
That's correct. Once I leave the scene, I don't know who enters the scene.
Did you, as part of this investigation, ever return to the house?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you, after initially finding the bodies and being there, did you ever have any other involvement with this case other than coming to court?
No, sir, I did not.
Where did you have Mr. McCord stay while you were there?
I believe he was standing out in the driveway as well.
And did you also inform him that the Smiths were deceased, or did you only tell Mr. Hartung?
I don't remember. I'm not sure.
What?
I would think he would probably make that assumption based on all the people responding, but I don't specifically remember saying anything to him.
Just one moment.
Sure.
One moment, Tim. I have nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Can you redirect?
Briefly. Mr. Smith, you said when Mr. Hartung was notified his family was deceased, he was calm like he was when you first talked to him?
Yeah, he was calm. He didn't respond in an extremely positive or negative way. It was just nonchalant.
Nonchalant, okay. And Mr. Griffith asked you when you first went to Mr. Hartung's house if he answered your questions truthfully. Do you remember that question?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay. Let me ask you this. I mean, you don't know if Mr. Hartung was telling the truth. do you?
Right.
Absolutely not.
Okay. So you just know whatever he told you.
Correct.
Thank you.
Is she wearing like a crucifix to like ward him off there? It's her. I thought she was like wearing a rosary with a crucifix on it. But it's her court ID.
No,
I
if
guess.
Mr. Hartung was
Yeah, it's her court ID badge. Oh
telling
well.
the truth, do you?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So you just know whatever he told you.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, that's the first witness. Court TV's got a lot better on their organization since the O.J. Simpson trial back in '95. So let's go back here to our next witness. Okay, let's see. Bring this up. We'll do one more witness today, I think. Here, this witness says it takes about 30 minutes, and that's a little bit. That's just about what we've got. About 30 minutes left. So. And according to the can we not do that, please? Thank you. Can we just not do that today? Yep. Okay. Yes, you can lick your sister's shoulder, but that's it. Yeah. So according to what it says here on Court TV's title for this next witness is victim Richard Smith's supervisor from the Department of Homeland Security. Hal McCord takes the stand. Oh, so Richard Smith worked for Homeland Security, did he? That's interesting. All right. Well, let's do things here. Let's take the banner down. Let's bring up Hal McCord. Share screen. Share, I said. Boom. And
You
hit
state
play.
your full name for the record, please.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Hal Edward McCord Jr.
And this
And
is
Mr. McCord.
that's can we zoom out the camera just a little bit, please? But he's actually wearing a shirt very similar to the one I'm wearing. Interesting. Dude, did you get the? No, this is the same shirt I'm wearing, like right down to the pocket. I mean, it's got like the same pocket stitching and everything. The same diagonal corners, the same weird like faded buttons, multicolored buttons with this. We're wearing the same damn shirt, dude. I bet you $20 he got this shirt from LL Bean. This is an LL Bean shirt he's wearing. This is exactly the same shirt that I'm wearing now. This is kind of freaking me out just a little bit. All right. And he's got the same gut I've got. No, mine's probably bigger.
Cord, are
Anyway.
you retired?
I am
Where were you previously employed?
the Department of Homeland Security.
And how long were you with DHS?
About 13 years. I hired on in December of 2004.
Go ahead, let it out. And just very generically, what did you do for DHS?
Why?
I'm a computer scientist, and generally I manage
can
people.
You.
Other computer scientists or computer specialists.
All right.
All right. Did you
Wait, that's
know
not what we
Richard
wanted.
Smith?
There we go.
I did.
Okay. And did you either hire him or participate in the hiring of him?
Yes, I did.
And in what year did you first start working with Richard Smith?
Started working with him would have been in the 2006-2007 timeframe.
And did you work with Richard up until his death in 2015?
I did.
Was Richard a computer scientist?
Yes, he was.
He's retired though.
And were
Whatever.
you Richard's supervisor?
I was.
Approximately how many employees did you supervise in July of 2015?
Direct reports, 15, and then government staff in general, near 100.
Now, did Richard have a
Twining.
standard work schedule?
We had core hours, yes.
Okay, what were those hours?
Generally, they were from 8 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon,
Which days of the week?
Monday through Friday.
Now, could those hours fluctuate?
Yes, they could.
And was Richard, was he required to be available 24/7?
Okay, they're just hiding
Richard
his
was the
face.
team lead.
And I swear to God, he is also wearing LL Bean pants. Those look exactly like the LL Bean pants. If you can't tell, I do most of my clothes shopping at LL Bean. This conversation, I either get custom tailored dress shirts or I get everything from LL Bean. You just go click, 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 and then the clothes fly all by themselves, just like Witchcraft, all the way from the States into my office. And I never have to go anywhere to buy clothes. So yeah, I'm guessing dude just does the same thing. Fat guys shop at LL Bean online. He's probably hidden because he's former Homeland Security, and I guess they're just protecting his identity. But I swear to God, this looks like LL Bean pants too. Weird. I'm kind of creeped out. Island, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I sleep in one time and show up to find Jeff dressed like the witness and wearing his fancy hat. Didn't know it was going to be a party. It does make life easy. Are those your glasses in his pocket? I do have black framed glasses. Got to admit, it's a little creepy. All right, let's get back to it.
So he was the first to order, contact when his staff, the people around were having issues. He would be the first level of contact, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so would he need to be available 24/7?
And
Okay.
usually
Not to be really creepy about this. I know it's a little too late for me not to be creepy, but just one more creepy thing here. Also, notice how his right breast pocket is buttoned and his left breast pocket is unbuttoned. Same thing. My left breast pocket is unbuttoned and my right. This is weird. Stop it. Get out of my head. Get out of my head. This is kind of weird. This is not normal.
By
That's not
text,
normal either.
he wouldn't have to be standing there.
I understand, but did
Okay.
he need to be available
Yes, he
24
did.
hours a day, 7 days a week?
Yes, yes, and yes, for all 3 times you asked that.
Thank you. Now, if Richard had to take his mom or his brother John to like doctor's appointments, was he able to do things like that?
Yes, he was.
Okay, and would he have to get your approval?
Yes, he would.
Was Pensacola the only DHS location in 2015?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Are there other locations in the United States?
Absolutely.
And what about Washington, D.C.?
Yes, including Washington, D.C.
Yes, exactly. That's why my left breast
So,
pocket is
Mr. McCord,
unbuttoned.
let me take
It's
you
a
back
phone holster.
to July of
Exactly.
2015. When was the last day that you saw Richard at work?
Tuesday of the last week of the month.
No, Ms. K. Griff, because
he had
unlike the
requested
witness, I'm
time
not
off to
wearing
take
pants.
his brother John to a doctor's appointment
Let me
the
stop
next
you real
day.
quick.
Yes,
My
ma'am.
question was the last day that you actually
That
saw
was
Richard.
Tuesday.
Okay. And did Richard show up for work on Wednesday, July 29th?
He did not.
Was he, had you excused him to be off that Wednesday?
I had
Okay. And do you remember for what purpose?
to take his brother John to a doctor's appointment.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Did Richard show up for work on Thursday, July 30th?
He did not.
Now, was that usual or unusual for Richard? Let me finish. For Richard not to show up without some sort of contact?
I
Is it
know it's
usual or
most
unusual?
unusual to be
It was
murdered by
highly
you.
unusual.
In the years that you worked with Richard, had he ever not shown up for work without some sort of contact?
I don't recall an instance, no.
So he was off Wednesday and he didn't show up Thursday, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Did Richard show up for work on Friday, July 31st?
He did not.
Did you try either calling or texting Richard on that Friday?
I did.
Okay. And did you use his work cell or personal cell?
I used his work cell.
Okay. And what was your cell number at the time?
That's the same shirt. I'm
The last
fixated
4
now.
digits, 2779.
Do you have that same number?
Still have the same number, yes.
You don't remember the other digits?
Most of the time I get them right.
Okay. But you know the last 4 were 2779.
Yeah,
Okay.
easy to remember.
Did you get a response from Richard on July 31st, 2015?
I did not.
Okay. And for him not to respond to you as his supervisor, was that usual or unusual?
That was very unusual.
Does anyone
let's
in
go to-
Florida own a hairbrush, for God's sake? Look at this. Does anyone own a goddamn hairbrush? People, come on, do better. At least borrow some of Nosferatu's hair product.
The morning of Friday, July 31st, did you go to Richard's house to check on him?
Yes, I did.
Had you ever been to his house before?
No,
Did you get his address from work?
I did.
Okay. And then how did you know? I mean, did you Google how to get there?
As a matter of fact, I did.
Okay.
Google Maps.
Very good. Do you know what kind of car Richard drove back then?
A white, yes, I did.
Okay. What was it?
It was a white minivan SUV sort of. I would recognize it when I see it, but even now I don't know what it was
That's fair.
specifically, the make, model, or
Okay.
year.
Very good. When you got to Richard's house on July 31st, was his car there?
The car was parked in the driveway, yes.
And approximately how long did it take you that morning to get from your work to Richard's house?
In the neighborhood of 30 minutes, perhaps a little less.
Nicola,
But
my
it'd be pretty
dear,
close
so
to
good to
that.
see you.
Okay.
How are you?
once you left, I guess, Pensacola NAS, what was the direction that you took from there?
For me,
Yep, phone
it was,
holster on his hip.
I guess that
Burned.
would be due west up New Warrington Road till I hit Mobile Highway, and I think the Mobile Highway runs north-south there. So I was headed north on Mobile Highway till I got to Pine Forest, and then Pine Forest veers off to the right. But
Okay.
not a whole cardinal amount.
Okay. When you got
He's like, I'd so eat you, man. I would so eat you.
to Richard's house that morning, other than his car, did you see any other cars?
Yes, there was another car that I've seen him in the past in the driveway on the other side of his car.
Right. Now, when you got to Richard's house, what did you first do, obviously, besides park and get out of your car? Where did you go?
Okay, I parked in the driveway. I walked past his car.
Did you have a Space Invaders shirt on
They had
back
a
there?
closed-in garage on that side of the house, and there was a doorbell.
Gunt
and a door
cam.
there. So I walked to that door and I rang the doorbell.
Okay. Did anybody answer?
No, ma'am.
Where did you go from there?
Well, I actually rang the doorbell more than once. And then I walked around to the front of the house.
Okay. What did you see at the front of the house?
Same thing as I did on the side. Rang the doorbell a couple of times.
Okay, all right. Someone made a. Where did it go? Ah, yes. 77 Mechanic asks, why do they keep using twilight instead of sundown? Actually, twilight is the correct term. Sundown is just the point that the sun disappears over the horizon. Once the sun is down and it's no longer visible, that's the time of sundown. Twilight is that period between the sunset. So the sunset is when it goes down. So, but twilight is that period after the sun goes down until it's dark. So there's still a little bit of light in the sky after the sun has gone down, but before it's dark. So actually, twilight is the correct term to use, but people just say sunset.
Listened for noises, whatever.
Okay. Did you get any response from the front door?
No, ma'am.
Did you notice anything around the front door?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you see?
There were a whole bunch of packages piled up on the porch.
From the front door, where did you go?
It's
I
safe
went
to
back
come
around to
out.
the side door, tried it again, and then around to the back door. Where I
Exactly.
went through the whole same.
Okay. Did you ever get a response from anybody or?
No sign of anything.
Okay.
No response, no noise.
Did you walk around the backyard at all?
I did.
Okay. And tell the jury about that.
Okay. Prior to walking in the backyard, I had checked with neighbors and then made a 911 call.
Before 911.
I did not walk around the back before. I was waiting for the officers to arrive when I walked around the back.
Okay, very good. When you
So-
walked around the back, what did you see, if anything?
Nice yard.
Nice yard.
I did not see anything. I looked behind the bushes. There were azalea bushes in the yard and a garden shed in the yard. So I looked back behind them and walked up to the back fence looking for, anything unusual in the backyard, drag marks, body, whatever was
Coffins.
there. And there was nothing didn't seem to be anything out of place.
Okay. Did you ever see, while you were kind of walking the premises, did you ever see any broken windows, kicked in doors, anything of that nature?
No. The back door, the storm door was open. It was being held open by the deadbolt was out, but the interior door was locked.
Did you call law enforcement that morning? And I know you went around and talked to neighbors, but did you ultimately call law enforcement?
I did.
And did law enforcement arrive while you were there?
Yes, ma'am.
How many people?
2 officers arrived in 2 separate vehicles. Or 2 deputies arrived, excuse me.
That's okay. Did you ever go inside the Smith home that day?
I did not.
Now, once law enforcement got there, did you kind of I guess, kind of hang back and let them do their thing?
I explained my concern. Then I stood at the end of the driveway, not at the end of the driveway, but up behind the cars,
Okay.
and waited.
Okay. Now, did the deputies eventually come out and let you know that there were 3 people deceased?
No. Well, I mean, I knew there was a problem when the EMS came out. They all looked like they had seen ghosts. They were very,
They probably had seen ghosts.
I mean, they weren't chatty or anything. There was something clearly wrong. They walked off, loading the truck, and left. By then, there were a whole bunch of other units arrived from the sheriff's department, and one of the deputies asked me to come speak to him in his vehicle.
Okay. So could you tell by what was going on? Obviously, there was something wrong.
I knew there was a problem.
Okay.
That was clear.
Okay.
But I
And,
didn't know what the problem was at that point.
right. Did anyone explain to you that there were people found deceased in the home?
I was told,
Just yes or no, not what you were told.
okay, then yes.
Now, while you were out there on Deerfield Drive that morning, did you give one of the initial deputies, Mr. Hartung's information?
Yes, I did.
And did Mr. Hartung arrive at the Smith home while you were there that morning?
Yes, he did.
Did you see how he got there?
He came in what I would have called a lawn yacht or a road yacht, a big.
A lawn yacht. What the hell is like a lawn? What the hell is a lawn yacht? For me, where I come from, a lawn yacht is like somebody's 1977 Firebird Trans Am, like from Smokey and the Bandit, that's sitting up on cinder blocks in their front yard. That's a lawn yacht where I come from. He says it's a big car, big 4-door car, I guess. Yeah, a lawn yacht. That's whatever we just called like an old broken down muscle car up on cinder blocks in somebody's front yard.
Big car,
Big
you know,
car, okay.
big car, 4-door.
So he drove.
He drove, yes.
Okay. Now, had you seen Mr. Hartung before this day?
I had met him once at their father's funeral several years ago.
Okay.
A big rider mower.
Now, when Mr. Hartung got to the Deerfield home that morning, did he seem worried or concerned?
He got out of the car, he walked up the driveway, and he stood 4 feet or 5 feet from me. We nodded to each other and didn't really have any conversation.
Okay.
It was telepathic because he's a vampire.
When you went to check on Richard that morning, what was your actual concern?
Okay. I've known Richard for a long time. He was a big man, like my grandfather, you know, over 6 feet tall and you know, a big man. And I was concerned that he had had some sort of a medical emergency that he had, and that his family did not know how to contact us to inform us that there was an issue.
Okay.
So that is what I expected. And that was my concern going there. And that's what I expected when I got there, was that his brother and mother were fine and he was incapacitated in some way. I was concerned for him.
So your initial concern is basically his health.
Yeah. I mean, my granddad died from a sudden heart attack. You know, it happens.
Okay.
Wow.
Those are my questions, Mr. McCord. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We're really slowly laying the foundation in this case. So far, all we've got is he cooked them dinner on Tuesday. He was written out of the will, and he showed up on site, apparently, when he was asked to, and he telepathically communicated with the police officer. So that's all we've got so far. That's a great series of movies. That's good. Bill Nye is awesome.
Mr. McCord,
Yes, sir.
we've previously spoken, have we not?
Yes, we have.
And you recall I took your deposition.
Earlier in the year.
Yes, sir. I think it was March 19th of last year. I want to ask you some questions about your testimony just to clarify some things for myself.
Yes, sir.
Now, you said that you became concerned because you hadn't heard from Richard Smith on Thursday or Friday. Is that concerned? Is that correct?
That's close.
Okay.
I was actually concerned Friday. Thursday, I didn't really worry about it too much.
Now, Mr. Smith, you work for Homeland Security. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You're a manager there,
That's correct.
and that's on Naval Air Station, Pensacola.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Smith worked for you in what capacity?
He was one of my team leads for a subgroup of computer specialists.
Okay, so he was a computer specialist and was a team leader. Is that?
That's correct.
And what was his GS rating?
He was a GS 14.
Okay, so he's a high civil servant. He was
And
highly ranked.
when did you first meet Mr. Smith, or possibly?
Well, now if he was GS 14, he's making bank. Again, see this shows you that she said that he was written out of the will. The prosecutor said that he was written out of the will because he has sufficient funds to fund his own life, and they provided for him. If dude's GS 14 working for Homeland Security, he's well enough he'll have a pension. Well, he would have had a pension if he hadn't been murdered. He would have had a very nice salary and a very nice pension for the rest of his life. So yeah, she wrote him out of the will because she didn't like him.
Would become interested in hiring him to come to work for you at Homeland Security?
I first met him in 2005, which was my first trip down to Pensacola. And then a few years later, the opportunity came to get some highly skilled computer specialists. And he was one of a long list of people that I was looking at.
And you hired him?
I did not hire him, but I recommended his hiring.
You facilitated him being hired?
Something like that.
Okay. And he came to work for you?
Yes, he did.
And he worked for you from what, 2007 until his death?
Okay, for those of you that aren't familiar with how American civil servants are graded, GS stands for General Schedule. It's a scale that goes from up to 15. There's 15 grades. 15 is the highest. So this dude was like one step below the highest General Schedule federal government employee you can be. So yeah, it's a high position. See, Flux was just a lowly GS7. So yeah, well, for those of you that what GS, this was what lawyer math 2015. This was 9 years ago. So let's see, GS 15 pay scale 2015. Right now, okay, from 2015, a GS15 employee base salary, starting salary is $101,630 with a maximum possible base pay of $132,120 per year. At step 10, the hourly base pay is $50 an hour. So yeah, he was making base pay. That's excluding benefits and all that, somewhere between $101,000 and $132,000 a year. Yeah, plus benefits. And the feds get seriously good benefits.
About that time, yes.
During that time, did you ever hear him say anything about his brother negatively, Donald?
No, sir.
Could Richard work pretty much what hours he wanted to?
A qualified yes.
If he wanted to work till 6 or 7 or 8 at night on a project or whatever he was doing, that would be okay for him to do that. Is that correct?
I would not dissuade him from that.
Did he have to check with you to do that, or was it just he could do it because he's working on whatever computer stuff he's working on?
It was a Homeland Security IT specialist. The deceased, one of the deceased.
And I think you said as a team leader that he was on call for 24/7. Is that the terminology y'all use?
He was typically reachable, yes. For his team to reach out if necessary.
Now, when you got to the house that day, my understanding is that you got in your car and drove to his home, right?
That's correct.
And did you have the address from his personnel file?
I had the address from the recall list. I don't know if it was, I don't have a personnel file.
An emergency,
Yeah.
some kind of a contact where people are.
Yeah.
And when you got to his residence, my understanding is that you tried to get in, knocked on the door, that sort of thing. Nobody answered.
That is correct.
And when I took your deposition,
Tammy Fayette says, so the mother was pretty young when Donald was born. The mother was 63 at the time she was murdered, and he was 50. Let me see. Oh, he was 63. She was 77. So yeah, she was 14 when she had him, way back in the day. So yeah, it was like what, late 40s ish. So yeah, that scandal. She was 14 when she had him.
I asked you how many vehicles were in the driveway.
Perhaps I don't recall.
Do you remember that?
Don't remember.
What I've got here is a 63-year-old Donald Wayne Hartung is accused of murdering his mother. The bodies of 77-year-old. Okay, so she was 77. He was 63 at the time of the murder, and that was 5 years later. So yeah, he was 58. She was 77. All right, she was 19. So she was 19. All right. Probably not scandalous then. She's probably married at 19.
For the question, I remember how many vehicles were in the driveway.
19. She was
Okay.
19.
And how many were there?
There were two.
Okay. And was it a white minivan?
Yes, sir.
And what was the other vehicle?
I don't recall.
Did you go to the neighbor's house to see if they had access to the Smith residence?
Yes, I did.
And you used their phone to call for the deputies?
Well, not the first neighbor. I went to two neighbors' houses, and my phone clunked out at 9:30 when I called 911. It rang and then it hung up. The neighbor offered his phone, the neighbor across the street, and I called from his phone.
Okay. And you're the person then that called 911.
I called 911, yes, sir.
And then a deputy arrived, right?
Two deputies arrived.
And when they arrived, did you verify who the contact and emergency contact was for Mr. Smith?
No, I did not.
May I
I'm not seeing the
approach this?
I'm not seeing the point of this cross-examination, but okay.
May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
If you would, sir, that's your deposition taken March of last year, correct?
Yep. We have a semantics issue here.
Okay.
You didn't ask the word or ask the question concisely,
Very good. I apologize for not being
but I
very
can
concise.
explain that.
Okay. All I asked you was if you got the contact information from Mr. Smith. Did you?
I provided contact information to the deputy, but it was not an emergency contact. It was a family contact.
If I could, your answer, which is on line 18, is, and this is your answer. What's it say? The deputies asked me for,
Says the deputies asked me for an emergency contact for Richard. I tested my office and asked for one, and they contacted back, but they didn't. It was not an emergency contact that they contacted me back with, because his mother was the emergency contact of record.
okay?
Well, couldn't really contact
And
her,
when
could
you
you?
got that information,
Different glasses.
how did you get the information about his brother Donald?
It came via a text
From your office?
from my office.
They gave you the information about Donald.
Yes, they did. And I did show that information to the deputy.
That was, thank you. That was my next question. Then you gave the deputy the information you got from work about Mr. Hartung, Donald Hartung.
That is correct.
While you were outside the residence, you were standing there, the deputies went in and you're standing outside the residence. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And Mr. Hartung's outside the residence. You're both in the driveway waiting to see what's going on.
That's correct.
At some point, did the dog come out of the residence?
Was it Cato?
Um,
Was it Cato? OJ's
The
dog?
dog came out. I can't remember whether he was loose. He was
I'm
brought
sorry.
out by Mr. Hartung at
Nicole
some
Brown
point and
dog?
taken over and dropped in his car.
Wait a minute. Did Mr. Hartung go in to get the dog or did the dog run out of the house?
Mr. Hartung went through the gate. I do not know if he went into the back door because I can't see the back door from my vantage point.
Okay.
Now, whether the dog was loose in the yard or not, I don't recall. But Mr. Hartung brought him out the gate and put him in his car.
I don't know why I had that up
Was it-
so long. Sorry.
One of those little dogs?
Yeah, it's what I would call a lap rat kind of dog.
Okay.
A lap rat.
Not a little like a Chihuahua lap rat, but more like
This guy's cracking me up. He's got like a lawn boat. He's got lap rats. I like this guy. This guy's cool. I like this witness.
something from My Three Sons, or one of those
Shaggy haired dog.
Yeah, a little, but a small.
Did the dog appear to have any blood on it?
Not that I saw.
Did he refer to it as his familiar?
And the dog was put in Mr. Hartung's car. Is that correct?
That's correct.
It's not me, I swear. Oh no. Oh no, Robert.
No, while you were
Who are the my three?
They're
My three was like
waiting.
Robbie, Chip, and who was the middle kid?
find out
Chip
what
was the middle
happened,
kid.
at what point were you told
I
that
can't
there were
remember the my
bodies
three.
in
The names
house?
of my three sons.
I was specifically told that while I was sitting in the front seat with investigator Hilfinger,
Is it Enfinger?
Infinger, yes, sir. Prior to that, I just assumed that there was something seriously amiss.
And at that point, did you receive any phone calls about Mr. Hartung, about Mr. Smith?
I did.
And who was that from?
Can I preface that with the rationale? While I was,
Did you receive any phone
Yes, I did.
calls? And was that from one of your bosses checking on him?
I was getting a returned call. Yes, I got a returned call from my branch chief,
Your what? I'm
my
sorry.
branch chief. Just another hierarchical name.
And that's a branch chief in DC?
That's correct.
Okay. And after that,
Mike. Okay.
did you just, did you then return to work?
I did.
Oh. When Richard had an office at the building he worked in, right?
That's
Ernie.
correct.
And did he have security cameras from his mom's home or
It was
his home
Mike,
and
it was
his
Ernie.
mom's home to those security cameras?
Not that I'm aware of.
Are you aware he had security cameras
Yes, I am.
and that he could monitor those at work?
He could monitor it from his cell phone.
Oh, okay. He could monitor the security cameras in his home when he was at work on his cell phone. Is that
On his
correct?
cell phone. That's correct.
I don't have anything further. Thank you.
Can you redirect?
The DHS employees could not take their personal cell phones to your work area, could they?
That's correct.
Okay, so the cell phones would be left someplace other than the work area.
That's correct. They're like mailboxes, like at
Mailboxes,
the post
okay.
office.
But outside of the work area?
Yeah, cubbies. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Mr. Griffith just asked you about,
Okay, to set the record straight, Mike was the oldest. Robbie was the second. Chip was third. Mike left to, didn't he like go to he went somewhere. Can't remember where he went, but then they adopted Ernie, or little Ernie, played by Barry Livingston, was the adopted. All right, we don't care about My Three Sons. It's an old like 50s show in the US.
getting a return call from
60s.
your branch chief.
It was like
Had you
1960.
contacted him or her to let her know you were concerned about Richard?
I had.
Okay. And Mr. McCord, did you consider your direct reports like family?
Well, I considered everybody's direct reports as if they were my family. Yes.
Okay. My point is the conversation to the branch chief was out of concern for Richard's
It was
health.
out of concern for, and I looked at my notes the other day from contemporaneous notes, and my concern, as I stated to her, was that, we may have to report something to HR. I'm concerned
Because of Richard's health.
because of the possibility that Richard was in poor health.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, I just want to clarify, you said Richard's mother was his emergency contact?
Of record, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and Donald Hartung was a family contact.
Actually, he was a known family member that someone went and looked up.
Okay, okay. But the emergency contact was Richard's mother.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You got Donald Hartung's name from another employee.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, Mr. Griffith asked you
Bye, Yoda.
about
Yoda's going to sleep now.
GS-14. Okay, is GS-14 a pay level?
It's a grade, yes.
Okay, and you said Richards was 14?
It's a GS-14.
Okay, were your other direct reports also a GS-14?
I would say probably all of them, maybe one was still a 13.
Okay,
But as they became more experienced and over time, they get promoted.
okay. And what was your GS-14 level?
I was a GS-15.
Because you were the boss?
Well, because I've been around a long time.
Okay.
Yes,
Those are my questions. Thank you, sir.
ma'am.
Can this witness be released? All right,
He can leave the courthouse, Judge.
all right, thank you, sir. You can step down.
Yes, you do.
All right. Well,
Will you?
no, wait, what? Ah, no, stop. Go away. We don't care about you. So when we pick up next week, next Thursday, we'll be starting with Deputy Daryl Singleton, who was second on the scene. He'll take the stand. So Deputy Daryl Singleton will take the stand next Thursday. We're getting through this pretty quick. This may take less weeks than I thought. There's not a lot going on here. Let me go back here and see what's what's up there, Straubs. Hey, buddy. There seems to be about 27 witnesses, and we got through 4 of them today. So hey, we're doing pretty good. We might be able to wrap this up in a few months. So all right. Yeah. Now, JKD Buck, stop doing your homework. We don't look ahead. That's it for this week. Again, we've got the 300 and some odd people, 390 something here. We got 377 now because some people are leaving. Don't leave yet, people. Stick around for just 2 more minutes. Don't leave yet. Everybody hit that like and subscribe button. We got 440 likes, 357 people left after the great exodus. A few people just joined, but we're shutting this down. What we're going to do next is we're going to go over to potentially criminal Sean. He's doing Trump stuff over there, Trump hearing stuff. We're going to see how that's going. But before we do, just wanted to give a couple of quick shout outs here. Thank you so much to Mods for being here for the start of a new trial. This is supposed to be the Witchcraft ritualistic murder trial. We've had 100% less witchcraft and rituals than I expected so far. Perhaps that'll happen at some point in time. I'd better, because this is how it's been marketed by Court TV as a legendary trial, the Witchcraft ritual killing trial. So we'll have to see how it goes, but no witchcraft today. We can keep our fingers crossed for next week. Strawberries pieced out too. So, all right. Nope, you're back. Are you just checking out the camera? What's up? Yeah. Let's see our like and subscribe poll for those of you that have participated. Okay. We've got 534 votes and only 455 likes. Like 80 of you cheated. You cheating bastards. What do you think about the new trial? 61% say, I don't know, it just started. 14% said probably good. 19% said at least it's not OJ. And 5%, including Flux, said, I miss Marsha Clark already. So that's our like and subscribe poll for today. Chat, thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. Super special shout out to Bella Stella for the 20 gifted memberships, and we'll be doing a members only stream again very, very soon, so you can all take advantage of that. Tomorrow we are going to be doing more Hales case. I think we'll be doing some Hales stuff tomorrow. The What the Hales. Monday will be Maritime Monday, which for those of you that don't know, every Monday I do a Maritime Monday stream where we talk about maritime issues. Clearly, this upcoming Monday will be updates on the Key Bridge collapse in Baltimore. We'll let you know what we've learned since Tuesday. So we'll have an update on that on Monday. I'm toying with the idea of trying to get a panel of maritime people together to discuss and probably debunk a lot of the shit that's out there on the internet about the bridge collapse. But that'll be Monday, and then Tuesday we will look at part 2 of the Virgilio Aguilar Mendez federal lawsuit against Levy County in St. Johns County in Florida. Not Levy County. That's the What the Hales, I think, right? Yeah. So there we go. Adara the Wholesome has left a super chat here. Let's do the super chat here in order. Damn it, I'm late, says Megan Hunter. Go back to the beginning. Don't worry about it. It's a good, you just catch up. And Island with the $5. I sleep in one time and show up and dress. Jeff is dressed like, we already read this one. Huh. I don't know how I missed Megan's. Sorry, Meg. But Island, you got a 1.5 for there. And Adara the Wholesome, Dracula looks like a bad guy in Indiana Jones film. Khalifa. AK Roddy, what happened to Barry Scheck trial? Well, it was actually Chandler's idea to do Chandler Halderson. Damn it. I did it again. Chandler Remington. Sorry, Chandler. We're talking about horrible chopping up, bashing with hammer trial. Sorry for that little slip there. It was Chandler Remington's idea to do that the Barry Scheck trial that we were going to do. But she said she wants to do that on her channel. So I picked this trial instead, and Chandler may be doing the trial that we wanted to do together over on her channel. We'll see how that goes, depending on how she feels after she takes the LSAT. And we'll work on it one or the other. It'll be here or there. And that's it. All right, folks, we're going to shut this down now. Thank you so much. Join us tomorrow for some more What the Hales fun. Let's go over to see what potentially criminal Sean is up to with Trump-related hearings. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. On behalf of Strawberry and Yoda, who is fucked off to sleep, I'm going to say good night and peace out. We'll catch you next time. Bye, all. Have a great day. Have a great night. Tell Sean hi. Tell him Legal Vices sent you. Peace out.